2, live.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business. How does that music get louder at the end?
Yeah, well,
It's rock and roll, Stephen.
Yeah,
Get used to it.
I like it. I just don't. I do like it. Just
Yeah.
every time I listen to it, it's like I love the intro.
Yeah.
What is
Well, I
David
deliberately
doing?
thought, just crank. I just thought I'd crank it up so that
Okay.
people
Right.
are
David
asleep.
is raising the house.
Yeah, it's like I want to do pump it up, man. So
David's
no, I love it.
pumping up.
It's very cool. Let's.
Well, look,
Hey guys,
Yeah, hey guys, welcome
to be back.
to Lost Dollar Business Club.
Yeah.
We've got some good, amazing announcements. Stephen's got a few of them for us.
So let me start off with this. So yesterday, my wife is out doing whatever she does, and we don't ask questions, but we have video. And she's doing a business transaction, and she mentions our restaurant in New York, Dim Sum Darling, which, by the way, the #1 dim sum restaurant in New York City at Urban Hawker. If you've not been, gotta go. If you've not been there, you're a loser. And if you need to go, you can. It's on 135 West 50th Street, and I think John's been there. He eats there for free because he's a cheap.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a very good restaurant. The food is delicious. Urban Hawker, but our restaurant's the best. Anyway, so she mentions that she's doing this thing for Dim Sum Darling, and now she's in Buda, Texas. Okay, Buda, Buda, Texas, population of 6. This is where husband and wife divorced, they're still brother and sister. Okay, this is where we're at. And this guy says to my wife, I know Dim Sum Darling. And my wife says, have you been to New York City? She goes, no, but there's a show on YouTube we watch. And she says, do you watch Two Old Farts Making Noises? He's like, yes, that's the show. And it's a business show, and it's really cool. And my wife's like, my husband's one of the old farts. So she literally calls me, and if I forget I think his name is he Chaz or Chris? I'm going to go with Chaz because it's Texas. So he was thrilled to death, listens to the show, loves it. So shout out to Chaz. And he works, I think it's a big trailer company. It's called literally Big Trailer in Buda. And big fan. And his wife was like, what are you so being hysterical about? Now she's a fan, apparently. So that was interesting. And on my flight back last week from LA, I sat next to this very nice lady, asked what I did. And I told her, I sing the national anthem at cockfights. And she's like, other than that, what do you do? And I told her about our podcast. And I get up to go to the loo. I come back, and what does she have on her laptop on the airplane? Two Old Farts Making Noises. She goes, I am a subscriber now. I'm going to watch your stuff. So in the course of a week that I know of, we picked up three or four fans. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, for all you people that haven't advertised or want to advertise with us, there you go. But big shout out to the Big Trailer people in Buda, Texas. We appreciate Chaz and his compatriots for watching and listening, so to speak. And then the other thing, this is how their ages, and they're young. They're like in their 20s and 30s, John.
Wow.
We have a predominantly male audience, which I know the girls from Social Intercourse would prefer to change, but we're not, because we talk about what guys want to hear. We talk about business, we talk about women, and we talk about sex, drugs, rock and roll, scotch and cigars, and we're all old school guys, and we don't care who we offend, and men like that. With the girls with Social Intercourse are trying to get like a female friendly, which is good for their show. But even like the Halloween show, as I went through the statistics, it was all like kids between 12 and 34 watching it. Why? Because they dress provocatively. And I'm like, Rachel, that's your audience. What do I know? Anyway, enough about that. One more thing. For the people that are listening, and if you've made it this far, congratulations. We are hiring a social media manager that will sell advertising, because we are at the point now where the channel is ready to make money, all our channels. So if you want to work for 2OF Entertainment, drop us a note in the comments, send us an email, and we will have a dialogue with you. But we are looking for a social media / advertising manager. So if you're out there and you think you want to be part of this crazy group,
big position, big job, big evolution.
Yeah.
And a special shout out to Two Old Farts Entertainment for 600,000 views on YouTube. That's just on the YouTube channel. So that's pretty big.
So we're growing.
But I'm slightly disturbed because Stephen said sex and drugs and rock and roll, and I always thought it was sex and drugs and sausage rolls. But there you go. That may be just.
Well, David, if you're in the crying game, sausage rolls is for you. If you're not into the crying game, it's rock and roll. But we're good.
We know where
David's mine. He's in Amsterdam. What can I tell you? All right. So enough about that. Kurt, welcome. Good to see you. Michael, tell us what we're going to discuss today, and also the day after, 2 days after Thanksgiving, on the 25th, the show that you people will be listening and watching to, because you'll be stuff from Turkey and watching football because you have no life. We have a special guest, so I'll let Michael go through all that.
Well, this was arranged by Stephen's machinations, which is fantastic that we have Aaron Carr for the show after Thanksgiving, talking about a topic that we've touched on many times on this show, which is central bank digital currencies. And in particular, Aaron's going to talk about some of the risks that are about to fly in our faces as these things get rolled out. So that's a big show on, that'll be the 25th, I think, of November.
Yes, 25th of November.
So that'll be very exciting. And we are always looking for guests. I have some other ideas. We're reaching out. So if you want to be on the show, be in touch. But today's show, the big topic for today's show is Hong Kong's transformation, if you can call it that, after China's 2020 new security law takeover of Hong Kong's government. So just to explore what's going on, so people are aware of a somewhat liberal democracy, or democracy-ish place like Hong Kong that is now changing quite a bit under Chinese rule. And then we'll touch on things like our usual AI topic. Who's using AI in secret? That's a big point of the day. People are secretly using AI at work. We'll talk about greenwashing, which is what Coca-Cola and Nestle are accused of doing by a European group. And I think David and Stephen will love this topic. David sent us this article on where did the NFTs go? Where did the NFTs go? Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
And we have lost and found after all of that too.
And then lost and found.
The NFTs have gone up the Swanee, I think. But there you go.
There you go. Well, there's a whole Sam Bankman-Flickman, whatever guy is from the FTX on that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And you know what, David? Let's go to commercial, and then we'll start our show.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club. All right, well, and we're back. So let's just start off by appreciating I'm getting this new newsletter called Pro Market, which is out of the Stigler Center for the Study of the Economy and the State. And it's just an interesting future capitalist exploration and analysis. And I've just been getting their newsletter for a while, promarket.org. And the article that I sent around last week was the decay of Hong Kong's liberal political economy. And it's very clear where they stand on it, but it's basically a free trade liberal economy publication. And the article was written by a research assistant from the Mercatus Center for International Freedom Project. So this guy is from the University of Chicago, and he researches this kind of stuff. So I thought it was interesting to give a little bit of the background. And the other article that I shared with you guys was the Council of Foreign Relations, our good friends at CFR, writing another article about what's happening to the degradation of Hong Kong's freedoms. So we've got a little bit of background on it. actually, maybe I'll give a little bit of the background on it before we get into it. So when the British had control of Hong Kong and Shanghai, and in '97 they gave control of Hong Kong back to China under the auspice that China would preserve the one country, two systems status for another 50 years, which would take us to 2047. But instead, in 2020, Beijing and the Chinese Communist Party decided to crack down on the pro-democracy protests and instill a new security law that just made it very difficult for anyone who's a dissenter or anyone who's pro-democracy from having a voice in Hong Kong, which is where they actually were on a democratic trajectory, and now they are resoundingly not. So so that's the background. So it's been 3 years, and so the question is, well, what has happened in Hong Kong? Now, have any of you guys been to Hong Kong? I was there 10 years ago.
I was there.
Oh yeah.
So here's the issue, but here's the big issue. Relax, John. I'm not going to go off on a tangent on Panda Boy. So here's the problem you have. When the British turned it over, and the minute they turned it over,
we didn't turn it over. We gave it back because we
same
had
thing.
an agreement to rent it.
Right, it's the same thing. You turned it over, you gave it back. It's the same. Potato. Okay, I'm sorry. You gave it back, which was
not because that's important to the whole
okay.
issue.
You gave it back. Thank you very much. And you gave it back early. That's the other thing. The other thing is that the minute you gave it back, they already had in plan to start doing what they're doing. So this is not a shocker, because in the year 2000, they already started to crack down on dissidents. They arrested one of the guys who owned a freedom bookstore, and he wasn't seen for 10 years because he went to had to go to an adjustment camp. So this is not a shock. So anybody who's like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. Really? What rock have you lived under, since the beginning of time? I mean, I'm not shocked at all. I'm surprised it took this long.
Well, that's an interesting point. Yeah, I mean, they did enact laws as far back as 2003, where they were trying to prohibit treason against the Chinese government, and they instilled Chinese propaganda in schools in 2012. So you're right, this was ongoing, but this was a big deal because there was such a huge. I think the contrast for me was that there was such a huge pro-democracy movement that they just so clearly squashed. Right. And that was the dramatics, I think, to it.
Have you seen the movie? Literally, have you seen this? You've seen the movie. It started with this little guy named Mao, and then it went to Deng Xiaoping, and then it went to the next guy, and then this guy. Well, before him there was somebody else, and then this guy. This guy is Communist Party, like A through Z. This is the guy. Like he is going to be here until he dies. Okay, he's the emperor. So he's the Han Dynasty.
There's an important part to this, of course, because what happened is that a lot of the Hong Kong residents had a dual passport, right? A sort of dual passport, British/Hong Kong passport, and that was the that was people who had a lot of money and a lot of influence, and they left. They went because they saw it all happening, and so you already had this sort of vacuum, of power brokers who decided to go somewhere else, and a lot of them came to the UK, and then again after early 2000s, the octopus, which is the Chinese Communist Party, then started to interfere with what was happening to them in the UK. What were they doing?
Right.
Show that you're a good Chinese citizen, which technically they weren't because they had dual passports. So you have all this stuff all brewing and brewing and brewing. So there's opportunities for everybody, and I think the Chinese just thought, oh, okay, right. Well, most of the rich and powerful troublemakers have gone, and we're going to fill that hole. We're going to fill that hole with our people, who are more.
They did. I mean, they did. So now all of the people in the governing party, the Legislative Council, they're all pro-Beijing puppets. I don't know. People.
Yeah, it was like 5 or 10 years ago. They replaced the mayor with one of their people, and the whole city was in an uproar. But you can't be in. Listen, the minute they said when Britain said they were going to turn it back over, or give it back, or whatever you want to say, at that point, if you have money, you get out. I mean, it's that simple. Like, and the guy who owned the Freedom Bookstore, they arrested him like in 2000. This stuff been going on. It's just now why they're passing laws to me is hysterical. It's like they're gonna do what they want to do. So
the Brits
there's no democracy.
If the Brits had the choice, they wouldn't have given it back. But the original deal was like for a couple hundred years or whatever, 150 years. So they leased it.
But you gave it back early though.
Yeah, because they saw an opportunity then, because we had all the noises were coming out of the Chinese Communist Party. Everything's going to be tickety-boo. We're going to have this sort of democracy here. And of course, a lot of banking. It's the financial gateway to China, and you've got this sort of very grey area outside of Hong Kong, which is sort of almost like a free port. So everybody thought, oh, that's good. So we'll have a piece of that. They'll give us an opportunity, to continue doing business with the Chinese, and everything's tickety-boo.
Well, as usual, who pays the price? The people of Hong Kong, who many of them were or are pro-democracy, have no voice. Right. And the UK actually has allowed 3 million Hong Kong residents to settle in the UK and apply for citizenship. So they've opened the doors to bring people out of Hong Kong.
But that's because, Michael, they had this Hong Kong passport.
This dual
Hong Kong / British passport, yeah. Well, and it sort of gave him a step in.
Yeah, I don't know.
And of course, the Chinese didn't like that because they could, see it all happening, and they think,
John?
So they don't love us. We're all going to go and live somewhere else.
Yeah,
John loves the Chinese.
I'm just wondering, are we that was the UK and the rest of the world just so naive to believe that a country that's it's a one-party state, and they dictate from the minute you're born to the minute you die what the devil you're going to do, where you're going to do, how you're going to talk, what we're going to teach you. I mean, unless I got to think maybe there was some kind of money going to somebody here to let them believe that the Chinese are going to allow a dual state for 50 years, and you can berate your rulers essentially in a free public forum. No way! Look at what they did in Tiananmen Square. I mean, they they killed their own citizens by the thousands, right? So
I totally agree.
Allegedly.
It's a bit like having an alligator in your pool, and you think that if you keep feeding it steak, that you can get in the pool with it, and then when you do, you go, "I can't believe
he bit me."
But I mean, they've made it very clear. I mean, and I realize that politicians all around the world don't know how to read, and they don't know what history is. I understand that, and so whatever the deal was that made them turn it over, give back, whatever terminology you want to use, early, was just why. I mean, I'm sure it would have turned into a Taiwan situation, but I'm sure they didn't want that if they didn't give it back. But realistically,
they got all the right noises from Beijing, and I think
come on, you can't be that stupid as a politician. Oh, yes, you can. Never mind. You can't be that stupid though as a politician.
You already had this grey area outside of Hong Kong, where a lot of the factories were. There was almost this free port, this free zone. And they thought, oh, that's great. That's what China wants. They want, let's look through the fingers sort of piece of their empire so that they can, facilitate the West.
And now,
but, like Kurt said,
I think we got to stop talking about the Chinese as, this, thoughtful, benevolent, we're going to, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Look,
Do it, John.
They want
Do it, John. All right, John. Hold on. We're gonna go for a close up because
John,
John's gonna rip the Band-Aid off.
No,
There you go, John.
let's call them what they are. From my
Are you ever going to
perspective-
get served at a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, John? After this?
Yeah, I know.
Never,
Not in Hong Kong.
They do put police stations, clandestine police stations,
Yep.
all over the world
All over the
to
world.
harass their
Yep.
citizens.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so let's just face it, they're already now the dominant power, right? Our manufacturing has all gone there. So if we start doing silly things, they say they just cut off, and we have no choice. So let's accept that that's the world they were living, and unless we're willing to dramatically change,
Yep.
they're going to sort of be running the show or partially running the show because they got the keys to our future in a way.
Well,
I think-
Australia found out, by the way, how Australia criticized China a few years back, and what China did is they were the number one. Australia's number one export was their wine to China, and they criticized the Australian government's like, whatever their problem, they said, no, you can't do that. It's a terrible thing. And the Chinese literally just said, forget you. We're not going to buy the wine. And it was like, they went from like up here to like down because of that. So China can use economic power.
Isn't that a strategic move, eh? Ban somebody's wine. Woo!
No,
Let's remember
it's economics, though, David. So keep this in mind, right? There was an article in the FT yesterday. China, North Korea, and Russia now are all banding together because everybody else is evil against them. China, to Michael and John's point, we're doing all our manufacturing, and now people are moving into India or whatever.
Great, you guys are just bad losers. That's it. You're all asleep in the US.
I think every country acts like a company, right? And every company has its culture and it has its way of doing business. And for some companies, money takes up this much space, ethics takes up this much space. Others, it's the other way around. Well, we kind of know the way that China works. And I think that when they signed that agreement, they knew exactly who they were signing it with. Yep. They just didn't realize how fast they were going to start moving on it, right? Yeah, they knew they were going to move there.
But they moved the next day. And that's my point. It's like everyone's like shocked. Like Michael's like, oh, they passed the law in 2020. Yeah, but they were like day one. They were already like, all right, this is who we got to take out. This is what we got to do. And they're even doing it in their own country. I want to say that the CEO of Tencent has been missing since October. Jack Ma thought he was bigger than the government. He went missing for 6 months. So, you have to understand what you're working with. And the problem is that people don't. And economic power, even though you made fun of the wine, economic power is huge depending on the size of your country.
That's right.
Like if you're a small country like Australia and it's billions of dollars that they buy, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Well, they have to look for another market. But
that's how much you need it.
This is more incentive for America to support countries like Australia or specifically Australia, because that's one of the last.
Well, you have to sell them some weapons first. That's normally the way the US does business.
We do sell them weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
We sell everybody weapons.
We do.
Yeah. So we're worried about I think I just think Americans are just you guys. You're just so pissed that you're number two. That's the thing, and you've been asleep. That's the reason why it's all well and truly effed up where you are, guys, because you're all being asleep. And China's just been tiptoeing up behind you.
But David, we know that.
And then bang.
Guys in finance know this. This is not a secret. It may be a secret to the American people and our government because they're all sleeping. But guys who actually have a clue, read a paper, travel the globe, we already know that we're number two and China's number one. This is not a secret. So to the American people listening, this may be like, oh my God, I didn't know that. China's been number one since the beginning of this century because of what they do and what they can produce and whatever. The problem with China is the way they give you the numbers when they give their GNP based on how many apartments they build or this or that, and they can't have a stable currency. That's why in some areas we're number two and others we're still number one. And there's a whole thing going on there. So it's much different. And I think we're not sore losers. I don't think we care.
Don't the U.S. too much because Europe is a basket case, right?
Yeah.
Zero growth,
Yeah.
huge problems with unemployment,
Nazis.
deindustrialization at the
Where?
fastest
No,
rate.
no.
The UK is
Yeah,
no longer a
we got-
manufacturing country. Germany is on its
Isn't it?
way.
It hasn't been a manufacturing company since the 1950s. Well, since
Well,
the Germans bombed the crap out of it. So,
They bombed it in the 40s, though, David.
Yeah,
in the 30s.
but
It
so
was in all the papers.
and Europe bows down to China, worse than
We do.
Yeah. So
hey, you got to set. They love their BMWs. We got to sell them something.
yeah,
Come on.
it's soon. You won't
Important
have any
stuff.
BMWs made in Europe. They'll all be made in China, and they'll ship them back. Of course, you won't be able to afford them in about a couple of years. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, we can't afford them now because we're all unemployed. Remember? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
zero growth, no inflation. Yeah, a bit like the Chinese economy. But there you go.
The reality is, or one of the realities is, Hong Kong cannot maintain its position as an international financial hub if it loses all of these rights and semi-pro-democracy views.
The idea doing a good job about it already. They've already lost everything. It's still their functioning.
I mean, they're all leaving. No, yeah, it's true. The brain drain is happening. The companies are
going to Singapore.
European countries are going to Singapore and Tokyo. They're getting out.
Yeah.
And if China thinks that they can make Hong Kong in the image of the mainland China and still maintain this somehow neutral financial center, I think that's an illusion. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think it is. I think I agree. But what's happening now is they're going to Singapore, Japan. They're also going to Vietnam and Thailand, because those are the places right now that are giving you a little more independence and freedom. In Thailand, of course, you can't say anything bad about the royal family or you go to jail. But other than that, you can go there and do the same thing you did in Hong Kong 50 years ago. Singapore, very open.
Americans go back to Vietnam again. Okay, right.
Yeah, well, everybody's going there. But see,
history. They'll be happy to get the money, right?
Yeah, but history repeats itself. So if you defeat a country, Japan has no problem with Americans. Like, great, you lost the war. They're over it. We're over it. We go forward.
Well,
so no one's looking back.
We rebuilt it. That's
I know, but we're rebuilding everything if you think about it, right? So we send our investment banks and our companies and whatever, and we're like, let's put something in Singapore. Let's put something in Hong Kong. Or now no more Hong Kong. Let's put something in Vietnam. Let's put something in Thailand. Let's put something. So we're doing that. We're even putting stuff in Taiwan. So what's ending up happening is it's like, okay, you don't want us in Hong Kong? We can go elsewhere. The Swiss are going elsewhere. The Germans,
so it's
everybody.
Back to financial imperialism again,
it's always been financial imperialism. However you look at it, it's he who has the gold makes the rule.
That's
it's not changing. It's just it's called different things because this generation, pussies that they are, can't handle the truth. So you have to give it to them. Like, here, Johnny, it's with some hot chocolate. No, it's not. This is what's happening, and that's the problem. And the other problem is people don't know history. So half the people listening didn't know that Britain gave China Hong Kong back. Half the people don't understand what that's all about. Half of them don't know Hong Kong is a financial hub. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are just uneducated because they don't know, they don't read, they're not taught. They're too busy on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
So
they'll be educated
strength
now,
is everything.
listening to this.
Well, there'll be something now. But financial strength is everything. Whether you're a company or you're a country, you can dominate the world with that.
But
military helps. But at the end of the day,
but financial strength comes from at least what we see in this global economy. A lot of financial strength comes from the transparency of your companies, the truthfulness of your dealings, the at least somewhat the ethics of what you do. And that's why China's in part having so many problems with its real estate market and its currency, because you can't prop up financial security with an illusion of freedom, I think, at least in this.
Well, and you can't tie your currency to Russia and North Korea. I mean, that's kind of like, you know what I'm saying? They're trying to be a brick country, and they're like with Brazil and India and the rest of them, and everyone's like, really? We're going to tie? No, we'll stick with the dollar still.
And also another thing to keep in mind.
They've got more dollars than you guys, so.
That's true.
Another thing to keep in mind, if you look back, 50 years, 60 years, when countries were expanding and moving into other areas, they brought with them the foundational things like manufacturing, right? They didn't just export their, like, oh, I'm just going to prop up an office. They went over, they built stuff over there as well, right? So there was foundations built in every country that brought money back to your country, but it had that fundamental side. Now it's just like they're exporting everything but that and leaving the foundational things in countries like China, in India, and so on, making yourself actually weaker. Yeah, you got money, but you have nothing fundamental under it, so therefore it can be pulled out. And China's just simply pulling out the fundamentals from all these different countries. They're pulling out the foundation from you.
Are you
saying,
referring
okay,
a little
all you got
bit
is money.
to the Belt and Road Initiative? Is that what you're kind of pointing to? Is there
a little bit, yeah, to some degree? I think they understand that you know, if they've got their people everywhere, just like the U.S. used to have their people everywhere, you know, they've got your foundational part as well, right? It's not just your business names; they've got the fundamental side of you, right?
I think
Because you're
you need
not
to tell people
producing
what Belt
anything.
and Road. I think you need to tell people what BNR is, because a lot of them don't know what the Belt and Road Initiative is. John and I came across it when we were doing a deal in Colombia with a rail company, but most people won't have a clue of what this is.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of China's biggest initiatives over the past, now it's been, what, 15 years or something like that? Or,
Yep.
It's very
Longer.
explicit. It's a very, maybe longer, but it's a very explicit effort to bring Chinese investment to the developing nations of the world, so that the idea being that they could create this trade route, a new road of economic activity. But the problem with it is that it's probably even worse than the imperialism that the West has done in places like Africa, where China has just, and I hear this from people I know in Uganda even, China comes in, they bring all their people, and they build they build this infrastructure that's that's all debt enabled.
Yep.
So it's debt laden, so that the countries are in debt to China. And the quality of the infrastructure is not even that good, from what I understand. And so these countries become indebted to China under this so-called initiative of seeming benevolence, which of course is not the case. And so the cracks are already showing. I don't know. I mean, I know that Uganda was one country that was actually not participating in that anymore, or trying to get out of it. But
some of them can't pay their bill, so now China has to refinance. Right. Like they're giving them like 1 to 300 bips interest rates, which is perfect, right? But what's ending up happening is they can't pay it. So then China now has to redo the deal, because I think even part of it's like, you know, they can come in and take it over. Most of these countries are like,
it's just like it's just like you know, when you don't pay your car loan. China's the repo man. They just come in and say, okay, yeah, we built you the railway and the port. Great. Now it's back. It's ours. Thank you.
Yep.
You know, debt cleared, but we own this shit for the next 100 years. You know,
100. They own it forever.
Yeah, well, but you know, like all empires, you know, have their cycle.
Right.
Right.
Especially those Brits, those pussies. They lost everything.
We all have become accustomed to it, because we have energy companies, gas companies. They all they do is they deliver the infrastructure, right? The gas or the electricity flows to your house. Everything's going well. You miss a payment, you see your lights start to dim a little bit, and you go, "Oh, I don't own this," right? It's the same difference. That's what they're doing over to these countries. They're just dimming the lights every now and again, and then
but unfortunately, they built railroads, rails. They built ports. They're building things that are strategic. So God forbid there was ever another world war. In theory, they can shut everything down in minutes. You know, it's the same when like Dubai World wanted to, I think, buy the port of not Long Island, but the Long Beach port, and the government was like, no, you can't do that. It's terrible. Blah 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 blah. I mean, like we've been stuff in the last couple of years with Chinese people Chinese companies wanted to come in and buy ports here in the U.S. and it's sort of like, I don't think that's going to pass. You know, so it's very difficult now. I mean, the government just woke up here.
Not in Europe. Not in Europe. They got a huge port in Rotterdam. Also
Rotterdam,
Hamburg, and of course Felixstowe, which is one of the largest container ports going into the UK, all Chinese.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is you know where you're going to get your Chinese food.
Just to know that they've got us over the barrel. They're graduating more engineers than the rest of the world combined.
Combined.
So
They're graduating more everybody
Yeah.
with brains than combined, because they actually
yeah.
their TikTok feed is how to be a lawyer and a doctor and whatever. Our TikTok feed is look at this cool dance. So there's a
I want to
big
be an
difference.
influencer.
Yeah, I want to be an influencer. Theirs is like take over the world.
And how to chuck a bucket of cold water over somebody. Yeah, that's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's
Right.
important stuff.
If you think about it, the sovereignty that the U.S. has enjoyed for the last century has been setting up military bases everywhere, right? And pretty much you buy an association with them for that protection, right?
Yeah.
In a way, right? And in China, of course, if they tried to build as many bases as the U.S., it would be seen as an act of aggression, right? And it wouldn't be taken lightly. This is
here's the
to
problem
me, this
now
is
with
another way of doing it. This is
here's
another way
another
of getting the
problem
same
you have.
power.
Right, but here's another problem you have now with all our military bases. If China flexes its muscles against Taiwan, what are we going to do? The other problem is we have military bases in Europe, and now there's Republicans, I guess, are saying, and some Democrats too, which is interesting. Yeah, Ukraine's not really the gateway to Europe. Really? Tell that to Poland. Tell that, like, what's going to happen if Russia says, you know what, screw you, we're going to go to the next level and come across. So having military bases all over the world is very nice, right? Because, the people in America that join it get to see the world type of thing. I've seen the commercials. The problem is that what happens now if there's a real war? What are you going to do? Like, you're supposed to be there to protect. What are you going to do now? You got bases, you got people. You can't go, well, no, we just had it there for it's like a tourist thing. It's not a tourist thing. It's a military base. It's going to be interesting to see.
Power has to be exercised in order for it to be effective.
That's true.
Practice. You can't just say that you're powerful and never use it.
That's
you
true.
have to show it. So let's hope a confrontation, it doesn't come to that. But
it's coming, my friend. It's coming. You can be as positive you want, but Russia, North Korea, and China are banding together. Missile Boy and Putin met, and they were like they're the best of buds. The last time North Korea was taken seriously was when Trump was president, so to speak, and now they're not again. So there's a lot of, and he's got long-range missiles. So there's a lot of things going on in that region, and Taiwan is in China's scope, and China has two partners that will help them: North Korea and Russia. So this is, like I keep saying, we're back in the late 20s, early 30s of last century. And if people don't know history, they're not going to see it. And when it happens, everyone's going to be like, I didn't see it coming. Really? Read a book.
Well, the Lost Dollar Business Club saw it coming.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
And
next week, John's going to be at the University of Beijing giving a lecture. So that'll be
that's right, John.
We may not see John again. So what else do you want to cover before our time is over? Because we got to do Lost Dollar. Anyone do NFTs?
We got to do Lost and Found, but before we go into let's talk about NFTs, because you guys were hot to trot on that for a while. You were cutting edge.
We weren't hot to trot. We were promoting it, but we promoted Poly Digital. We promoted Poly Digital. So what we did is, if you were an artist and you said, I have an NFT, we were like, that's great. Do you have a piece of art that goes with it?
Right.
So what would happen is, if John was the painter, and I've seen John's stick figures, they're absolutely gorgeous. So if you took John's painting, you had to sell John's painting with an NFT. If that was how we did it, because what we thought was, if the NFT market dies, we were so smart, we were correct. And you still have the actual artwork. So if the NFT market goes to shit and your NFT is worth zero, and you say, well, say you spent $500,000, but John's a really famous artist, I still have John's artwork on the wall, then I lost nothing. But if you're just selling me a piece of bullshit, pardon my French, a digital asset that's worth absolutely nothing, then that's what, like Board Monkey, that went from like $500,000 to $1 million. I think Madonna, Justin Bieber, and all of them are suing Board Monkey, and I think it's like they're around 10 grand right now. But we made sure that everything was Poly Digital. You couldn't just buy NFT. You had to have NFT with art, and that's how we did it. And it worked out. That was good. And then when we saw what was going on, we pulled away from NFTs and just kept with the art.
There's a sucker born every day. That's what we know.
I know. Born in the belly.
There's
something new and shiny.
For every crime, there's a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I wouldn't say
there's
this was a crime. This was just
Not a
pure
crime.
stupidity. If you're just so dumb
Yep.
that you're going to spend $1
And
million
there's
bucks on a
listen,
little digital
the-
thing.
the
Fear of
NFT
missing out.
The NFT trading market is still in the third quarter of 2023 at $1.3 billion.
Yeah.
So there's
Yes.
still
A lot of
money.
people out there doing it.
There's still people doing it.
Yeah, we're still looking at it.
it's
Remember, Stephen, as well. We're still looking at it very much through Western eyes, but in the East, it's still NFTs are still really important, and people are swapping them and trading them and doing whatever. But yeah, like we say, we didn't want to get involved in that. We were more concerned, I think, really, in offering artists something extra.
Right.
For me, the NFT was like the toy in the Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Let's sell your art. Let's sell the art, and you get your extra, your Happy Meal toy, the
Right.
NFT with it. That was the way we tried to look at it.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
But there you go.
NFTs still a thing, but not as much of a thing.
Not much as a thing. Thank God for FTX. Anyway,
Yeah.
so David, I think we're going to do Lost Dollar Business Club, or not, Lost and Found.
Lost.
Well,
and
we're actually on the Lost Dollar Business Club, Stephen. Are you with us today?
If I didn't drink so much scotch in the morning and smoke so many cigars, I'd actually know where I'm at. It would be great. So let's do Lost and Found. How's that?
Let's see. We'll see.
Oh, by the way, before you run the wait,
Welcome
really
to this
quick.
week's Lost and Found, uncovering dollar winners and losers, where we discuss dollars lost and dollars gained by various companies and projects.
What I wanted to say to everybody, the guy at Big Trailer said to me, we want to buy merch. And I said, look at the thing. There's merch. So below, for everybody who wants Lost Dollar Business Club or merch from any of our shows, there's a link. Just says merch. Just click it. And all the shows have their little, their little logos. And you can buy T-shirts, mugs, baseball caps, luggage. I think you can buy women. I think we're selling now too. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, you can we have Lost Dollar Business Club. We have everything.
And all our products are made in China. There you go.
No, stop it. They're made in a sweatshop in Mexico. Stop. Now. Yeah. So all right. So let's have Kurt start today, because I haven't seen or heard Kurt in a couple of weeks, and then John, and then we'll go to Michael, and then I'll go, and then David will give us the fakakta thing. So Kurt, what do you got?
This is kind of in the HVAC vein, my neck of the world. There's a U.S. startup called Vitralis, and they're pushing the envelope as far as predictive technology is concerned for like thermostats and heat pumps and furnaces to make them more communicative. I mean, there is communication now, but they're pushing the envelope to make it get more control and better energy efficiency from it. And we all know right now, with governments pushing towards green this, green that, how important that side and AI is going to be on that side. Hopefully not too intrusive, but definitely we need smarter thinking on that side. So kudos to them. There's $1 found.
Very cool. Nice. John, I saw you put your glasses on. This is going to be a good one. I can tell already.
No. In Australia, one of the biggest, one of the telco companies called Octus or something like that, which I guess is one of the major networks that processes, financial
40%,
transactions, credit cards, debit cards, went down. And so the country went kind of in a panic, because for hours, nobody could do anything.
I love it.
And everybody was scrambling for cash, right? But, cash is dead, And so, I don't know. I think, is that $1 won or lost? I don't, maybe.
Well, if you're the credit card company, it's lost because you didn't make all those processing fees. And if you're a normal person, it's probably won because you didn't spend any money. So,
so those that had cash, at least, were able to continue to function. It just shows that we still need cash, because, the system works until it doesn't, and then it's pandemonium.
Yeah, that's true. Very cool. Michael?
Cash remains king.
Yes, cash and gold.
I'm gonna give a found dollar from my industry, which is the sales engineering world. Consensus, which is a software company, sponsored this event called Demo Fest, which is why I'm in New York City right now.
Right.
And we had 120 sales professionals at this conference, and it was great. A lot of great topics. Really had a good time meeting new people, and I got a mug out of it, which
Wow.
take home. So,
Well, the best thing next week, you'll be showing the Lost Dollar Business Club
Next
mug, not
week is
this
the Lost Dollar
Fakakta mug.
Business
Yeah. Okay, just checking. So, very cool. All right, well, here, this one's. I just read this morning in the FT, and I just started to laugh. Jamie Dimon. For you people that don't know Jamie Dimon, he is the chairman of J.P. Morgan Chase for the last 3,000 years.
Yep.
After Sandy Wilde left, Jamie took over because that was his golden boy. Jamie Morgan next year is going to start unloading part of his $1.2 billion worth of stock. He's never previously unloaded any stock because his mentor, Sandy Wilde, said you never, ever do that. So what's happening is that all these Wall Street executives, Jamie Dimon, James Gorman, Mary N. Rhodes, Daniel Pinto, Ted Prick. Seriously, that's your name? Anyway, John Rogers, David Solomon, Danny Schwartz, one of my people, and John Walden. They're all unloading stock next year in the tune of billions, probably hit trillions. And none of them, if you will, have done it. But it is the first time that they're all going to start dumping their stock because I guess Jamie's getting ready to retire. He's going to take his money and go do whatever, because with all his other bonuses, I'm sure he's, it's tough living on a couple billion a year.
Yeah, that wasn't
and all these guys. Yeah, so it's very interesting that they're going to do that first time and for like forever. So the guys that have read about Jamie Dimon and Sandy Wilde and whatnot, I remember all that back in the day. So yeah, this is very cool, I thought. So I think it's a middle one. It's not a found dollar. It's not a lost dollar. It's just a very interesting to see where that goes.
It's probably found.
It's found for Jamie.
Yeah, it's found for Jamie.
Lost for everybody else.
Lost.
Right. All right, David. I haven't heard this in a while. I'm sitting down. What is the Fakakta story of the week?
Well, there are two things really. I've got to go back to obviously we as this fantastic show which we're all on. We have a lot of influence, it would seem, because you remember me. This is not particularly my lost and found, but I want to cover it anyway. It's the coffee youngers. We spoke about them, the coffee youngers, the guys who did the biodegradable coffee cups. Yeah. Well, they've now actually they're now going to enter the German market. Their original idea they were going to call themselves the Green Circle, but they themselves got tied up with the thought, greenwashing, let's not do it. So they're going to call themselves now the Blue Circle, and they're going to be upping. Yeah, tell me why. They're going to be upping their biodegradable coffee cups. They think by 2025 up from 30 million to 100 million, and I think most of that's down to us by promoting them on the show. So
I agree.
They're
welcome.
Yeah,
they're welcome.
Send us. Yeah, exactly. Send all the lost and founds. Give us a message in the message below, and we'll promote your company, and you'll go from 30 million to 100, just like that. Anyway,
they can send us some biodegradable cash. That would be nice as well.
Yeah.
That all right.
Well, I think
what's the next story, David?
I think most hash is biodegradable. Well, I think for me, I thought we had to get a bit of AI in somewhere because I knew we wouldn't get around to it because John wanted to talk about Chinese restaurants. But everybody will be absolutely thrilled to find out now that the Netherlands has won the Eurovision contest for AI, and they had this song. And it's all written in AI tools with a team of musicians, and it's what they call a Eurovision worthy song. It's called "Would You Like to Touch Me" by the Synthetic Beat Brigade. You can find that on YouTube. And what they've done is they've been looking at analysing all the Eurovision songs from 2010 to 2019, with wonderful, typically wonderful Eurovision Song Contest, Let's Get a Bucket sort of songs, which include love, loneliness, regret, and sadness, which is what I feel when I'm on this show. And they put that all together. They put it all together, and they've got this to train the Eurovision song, and it's also got a little performing artist called Zoe, who's of course is also artificial. So yeah, for me, it's a because I hate Eurovision, but there you go.
Well, you know what?
Thanks for sharing.
They've got that song. That song has 3,700 views on YouTube. So let's see if we can boost it from the $1 Business Club. It's the Synthetic Beat Brigade. It's How Would You Touch Me, the official video. Unattainable love in a human and an AI, which is the future.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You heard it here second.
And with that, let us just say this: if you want to be a social media and more and advertising person, hit us up for the Two Old Farts Entertainment Channel or TOF. We're looking for that.
We need all the help we can get.
That's true. We want to thank Chaz over at Big Tire in Buda for being a fan. I love this guy. He's like, anybody who's like has heard of us, he's got in our book.
The question is, would it be called? Would it ever be called Little Tire? That's what I'd like to know. But there you go.
You got to ask Chaz.
We'll have to ask Chaz. We'll have him on the show. So everybody, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Tell your friends. You can every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock in New York. This comes out on podcast and on YouTube. If you want us to discuss a topic, feel free. Remember, on the 25th, we have Aaron Carr talking about central banks and digital currency and money. He'll be on and with his new book. So he'll be here in 2 weeks. And that's really it, guys. Other than that,
and merch, and the merch, of course,
and the merch below. Don't forget the link below. You can get merch.
All right.